Hi friends, I'm Shamaya. It's like papaya, except it's not, and this is Plot Twist Please. Today, I'm going to try Get Ready With Me in story time. I am going to do this kind of new thing where I let myself just talk about a subject that has to do with ASD, otherwise known as autism spectrum disorder, or being a disabled person in a Black body. I'm gonna share some personal stuff on here, but not super personal because this is free. Plot Twist Please is a platform that centers mental health advocacy with a specific focus on media. Now, I have done one or two of these, but I'm gonna do more. I've done a Black Hollywood history, and I'm gonna start a disabled Hollywood history, and I will keep it more consistent. I've been busy because I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I do a bunch of other things, and so I will come on here more consistently with that content. And if you're watching this right now because you saw a short of mine, a lot of that personal content is kind of what you're gonna see with these Get Ready With Me's. But if you want to know some fun facts and some not so fun facts about disabled media history or Black media history, come right on over here. I bring people on to talk about mental wellness in the media space. Now this Get Ready With Me storytime is going to be focused on safe foods. Now the term safe foods has been used in different communities for different reasons, for different, medical applications. But in my case, safe foods, as the term pertains to autism, describes the foods that are easy for me to access, that are good for my body, and are things that are sensory friendly for me. All right, so let's get ready. I'm getting ready for work today, and I have to film a commercial later, so I kind of want to just lead the fight through the rods, Also, sorry if the thing that my phone is standing on shakes a little bit. Okay, so my face is pretty much bare right now. So I took a shower, I washed my face, and I put on some toner. So I used the Watermelon Glow PHA and BHA toner. I absolutely love. It's by Glow Recipe. This is not a sponsored video. I just wanted to show you what I've been using because I think that this is especially helpful for hyperpigmentation. And hyperpigmentation is really common among Black women, which I am. And another reason why I wanted to point this out is because a lot of autistic people, or one symptom of autism is skin picking or excoriation or any repetitive kind of what's called stimming. And skin picking for a long time was one of my stims. And so this really helped me. It definitely keeps your skin tone balanced and even and takes away those dark spots if you use it really consistently. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put on some essence. I was never an essence girly, but people are like, ooh, 10-step routine for your face. And so then I was like, okay, taking care of my body and being autistic is really hard. So this is part of my routine now, my daily skincare routine. And you can use it, wait, let me see if I've been using this right, y'all. Put a small amount on fingertips and press in a clean space. Wait a minute, I haven't been doing that. So what I usually do, I'll just show you now, which is actually not what you're supposed to do. I've been dropping it, like how I see the girlies do, on TikTok or whatever, but they have the applicator, and that ain't this. I'm just gonna use my fingertips for right now. I probably was just putting on far too much now that I think about it. I was just junking it on my face. Equilibrium by Hourglass. Unless it's called Hourglass by Equilibrium. Yeah, the jury's still out on that. And it was actually gifted to me back when I did gifted brand partnership. No more. I mean, this is kind of a stellar gift, right? It's pretty big. Actually, okay, this was a good investment. So I'm going to talk about safe foods. When I was younger, I would just pass out for no reason. But it turned out, what I'm about to put on my face now is rose water, just generic rose water that I got from my beauty supply. I'm not an esthetician, ask an esthetician. But it's good for when I try to put on, when I need to moisten my face before I put on lotion. But anywho, safe foods. I used to pass out when I was younger. It turned out that it was because of my lack of interoception. And interoception is the ability to be able to tell what your body needs at any point in time. So, for example, some people with interoception or bad interoception might get stabbed with a needle if they're getting a shot and won't feel it because they can't tell what signals their body is trying to send them, or they can't tell what their nerve endings are trying to communicate with their brain, or it just happens very slowly or slower than the average allistic person. Now for me, least favorite part. Now for the CeraVe, this is the PM, but I usually use the AM with sunscreen. Now for me, with my interoception, I literally don't know when I'm hungry. or when I'm thirsty, or when I'm tired. And so what would often happen when I was younger, before I really had a good sense of, making lists, I have so many lists now, and notating when I've eaten, what I've eaten, when I've had water, all those things, before I had access to those sort of resources, or before I learned to do that on my own, I would just pass out all the time, not knowing why, and it was because I hadn't eaten that morning, or I hadn't eaten for several hours and couldn't tell. And I was also a real busybody. Like, I was an overachiever when I was younger, so I was just trying to get my lotion to dry so I can put on my makeup. I was an overachiever, and I was always busy, and if I wasn't in a play, or taking AP classes, or volunteering, or doing some other random thing, being in an a cappella group, being in Business Leaders of America when I was in high school, and then going on to college, going to an affluent college and taking a bunch of classes and minoring in business and needing to do the extracurriculars and working on almost every show every season, as well as acting in another show every season, or working on film projects. When I wasn't doing all that, I also was in an improv group in college, and I also wrote for a talk show in college. So there was really never a waking moment where I wasn't doing anything, or where I was just sitting, or where I was just listening to my body. And so I passed out at school too. I remember when I was literally in the cafeteria or the mess hall or whatever. Girl, I forgot what you call it. I forgot. But I had been just organizing my room and forgot to eat that whole day. And so it had gotten to like 3 p.m. and I hadn't eaten or drank anything. And then I was like, oh, I haven't eaten or drank anything. Maybe I should put something in my body. And so I went to like the mess hall, the cafeteria, and passed out in the line to get my food. The food in hand, I passed out. All of the workers like had to come, or like some workers had to come and like check on me and like get me up and make me stabilize. And they were like, should we call somebody? Like, should we get an ambulance? And I was like, oh, no. This happens all the time. I was like, you don't understand. Like, this has been happening since I was little. Here's the actual tea. I didn't realize I was autistic till I was 23, 22. So I didn't know that I needed accommodations, and I didn't know what my body, what was going on, really. And so once I found that out, things were not perfect, but things are better now. Knowing the information is really important for my well-being now. And now what I realized was when there were those moments where I was like feeling woozy or not fully coherent because I hadn't eaten in a long time. Pause. What I'm about to put on right now is where in the tarnation? Oh, here it is. It's fairly new development. Putting on primer, Smashbox Photo Finish Illuminate Glow Primer, and I'll put the links below. A little dab. What I realized was that I needed to have lots of lists and calendars to tell my body what it needed, but even without that preparation, if I was in an instance where I needed food in my body immediately, it couldn't be bread. It couldn't be anything crunchy. It couldn't be like a solid food. I literally, something about that when my body is just in survival mode, or when I am overwhelmed with my senses, I just need something blended. Like, I just need something that is the texture of a smoothie, not a drink, not a regular liquid drink, a smoothie specifically. So like I could literally be there on the ground, like blacking out, needing something in my, like needing some vitamins, and being like, I don't want to eat the crackers, I don't need the saltines, I can't eat the sandwich, I need a smoothie. Like, that's the thing though, that's how it is sometimes for me. And for some people who are autistic, you really do need those safe foods to just go down the hatch. And sometimes in general, if you're overstimulated, not even necessarily if you were like, if you have low blood sugar, or you are blacking out, or you're incoherent. But for some people in general, it's you need to eat the same foods every day. Or you need to eat the same foods for the same meals, or the same texture of food for the same meals. Like for a long time, in college specifically, I would only eat dinner meals that consisted of rice, protein, and vegetables. It couldn't be noodles, it couldn't be soup, it had to be rice, protein, and vegetables. Whether that was a stir fry, whether that was an Ethiopian dish, it would just have to be those three things. And I honestly do think I spent a lot of time in college being overstimulated and having to just deal with it. And I think that was one of the ways that I dealt with it in hindsight. Regular lip balm. But yeah, it's one of those things where you don't know what your body needs until you know what your body needs. And a lot of autistic people, particularly women of color, who don't have access to a diagnosis early in life, really only get to their happiest points or like most stabilized points in terms of being aware of their body and what their body needs when they're older. By older, I mean like 30s and 40s. So me finding out that I was autistic at age 22, 23 is actually early. Hey, I had to go, but now I'm back. Apparently my storage was full, so I had to kind of rework things and reposition my phone and the lighting. I also have my coffee. I had to come back home after work and refilm the last part. All right, safe foods. A lot of the time, people with ASD or autism spectrum disorder need safe foods due to their repetitive movements that they'll do throughout the day and very narrow interests. And so their food habits won't necessarily reflect a healthy lifestyle based on their attributes or based on the characteristics of ASD. My eyebrows are already done because I thought I was filming. So let's go back into my little treasure box here. Mascara. Cool. Pretty generic. I'm not gonna do lashes today. Bronzer. This one's by Fit Me, Maybelline. But anywho, a lot of people who are autistic will find themselves having to develop habits such as leaving sticky notes around their home or around their workplace, or literally writing down everything that they eat throughout the day and the time that they eat it, or having an app in their phone that tracks how much they're eating or what they're eating or the nutrients that they've gotten throughout the day. And for me, what's great about my safe foods is that no matter how I'm feeling, they are attainable to me. I could buy a smoothie, even if it's like a $3 smoothie at McDonald's, it'll give me something in my system. It'll do something for my bloodstream or for my blood sugar and get me to the next point of my day where I could potentially have a break and then be able to nourish myself with solid foods. Contour palette, all right. It shows you how to contour on the back, detailed instructions, which I love. And it has all these different shades. I don't use them all just because of the nature of my skin tone and my undertones, but I love using this bronzer on top of the powder that I just put on, because it just gives it more definition, but it also doesn't feel like it's gonna just sweat off because I did that powder underneath. I don't know if that's a positive or a negative thing. I don't know if it helps or it hurts it. I'm no makeup professional. I just have had to do my makeup a lot myself for my job. Understanding what my sensory needs tend to be after having been out in the world, like as someone who lives in the city, knowing how my body usually feels after a day of work or after a half day of work or after a lot of sensory input, like walking down the street in the city and hearing horns honking and most likely sirens going off, like knowing that I'm just not going to have the energy mentally and physically to make a meal for lunch or for dinner if I've had a lot of sensory experiences throughout the day or if I've had sensory overload. I think that's a big part in identifying what your safe foods are if you are someone who's capable of doing that yourself. One of the really important reasons that I wanted to come on here and talk about identifying your safe foods as an adult autistic person is because I realized that there are a lot of resources for autistic children, but there really are not a ton for autistic adults. And it's like, we're here too. You really are. Autistic children become autistic adults. Now, a lot of those accommodations that I do need, I end up finding myself or relying on close friends to help me access those resources. When it comes to doing the things that it takes to take care of myself, I have to be very diligent, and it takes more energy than the average person or than an holistic person. Which is why I always have my safe foods on me because I know what my body can handle, and more specifically, if I have really high social demands for the day, it's easier for me to have these nutrition bars in my bag than to rely on having enough energy to even go to a restaurant or go to a takeout place to communicate with the clerk or the person who's taking my order to decide there on the spot what I want, especially if I've never been to that place before. That just for some reason takes a lot more energy for me to decide what I want. For me to walk however long of a distance it takes for me to get to said establishment, whether that's by bus, by train, by walking, also in the city, taking into account the sensory input that I'm going to be getting as I am on my way to that establishment. And if I'm not going to have the energy to go through all that, I just have to have something on hand. Okay, this contour is coming along. Now what I like to do with my contour is I like to add a little glow. You know, we like to glisten a little bit. We want the melanin to be glistening. So I like to use this like shimmer right here. The experience of fainting in college just made me become more aware of the fact that my body's only going to take as much as it's going to take, and I can't will myself out of exhaustion. I can't will myself out of autistic fatigue or sensory overload. And the unfortunate thing is that a lot of autistic adults and children even may not even be conscious of the fact that they need to save food handy because they don't know that they're autistic. And so for some children who are acting out in a classroom per se, it can be hard to be able to determine what that child needs if what that thing is food. Maybe they didn't get their safe food that day, and so they didn't eat. And so by the time they get to school, they're starving and can't function, can't focus without food, because food is an essential need. And you can't expect a child to focus in school when they are hungry. You know, if you don't know that your child is autistic, or if that child themselves doesn't know that they're autistic, they're not going to know that they need to save food. You reckon? In the context now of an autistic person being an adult, if you are in a workplace and you haven't clocked via your interoception or lack thereof that you are hungry and have been hungry for hours, you're just not going to be able to focus at work, or you're going to come off snappy to a coworker because you don't have the energy to mask. It's that thing again of needing to have your basic needs met in order to function in society. So yeah, that's kind of what my experience has been with my safe foods, and I'm just gonna add some little, and then I'll be right back. Now, okay, fallen reinforcements. Eek. A step at a time, a step at a time. I don't know what I'm doing. It's a little chaotic. It's a little chaotic. It's a little messy. I think it's also worth noting that sometimes you may need a safe food as an autistic person because there are other things going on, whether it's you having low blood sugar or diabetes or something or other. It's always best to check with your doctor, with your primary care physician, with a dietitian, or an expert in that area or in that arena, so that you can make sure that you're not just self-medicating in a way that is not actually going to benefit you in the long run, or so you're not making a situation more severe than it would be otherwise. I am not a licensed professional. I am not a dietitian. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I am here sharing my knowledge of what my experience has been as an autistic person. Hopefully that is going to help some of you out there. These Get Ready With Me's are really just to offer some insight into what one person's autistic experience is like, whether you're officially diagnosed with autism or not. If you're passing out throughout the day, something is off balance and you should see a professional. It's not just something that happens. You know, I used to think that if I passed out because I didn't eat breakfast, it was normal. It's not. It's not. See a doctor, see somebody with a name tag. I saw this trick like on Instagram, so I decided to do it. Put the color of my foundation on my lips on the outside. Then I went over it with this copper color. This is what it looks like. It's by Mary Kay. Remember Mary Kay? And I put it on my lips like this. And then I go over it with a touch of pink toward the middle. And then it ends up being like the perfect shape, the perfect nude shape. Girl, what's your name? I don't know her name, but she's cute. Oh, yep. She needed some conditioner in there, is what she needed. Come on, Pick-a-Bug. Come on now. Come on now. Ooh, baby. We are crying for help. These flyaways are trying to find freedom, flying away. Oh, glory. Thank you so much for joining me on this mini-sode of Plot Twist Please, a Get Ready With Me and story time. Next time, I don't know what I'll talk about. Let me know what I should talk about in the comments. Stay weird, y'all. Bye.